Hi there everybody, Jan here. Second part of the Broccato Estense mini album, and this is, if you not in my group but you still want to make this is the cut list for the pages that go inside the album. Yesterday I made just the album cover, the album shell and the pages. Now this is all the flips and flaps, and if you notice where I put the sizes here, I've also put what pages they are, pages 1 and 14, 2 and 13, etc. The album itself is a mirror image, so from page 1 until the centre is then repeated centre going to page 14. So my advice to you would be that you mark on your pieces of cardstock as you cut them out what page they're for and actually what they are. Okay, so belly band and booklet or waterfall, half pocket, etc., because that will save a lot of time for you. Right, okay, so I have actually put all my papers in, put all my pieces in half of the album, but this is to show you, you know, the front end of the album. Okay, so let's sort of make a move with this. Right, so this is what we have so far, and if you remember, you have these pages stuck in like this. Okay, and this is what I'm saying. If you just label them page 1 envelope, page 2 belly band, page 3 waterfall, page 4 half pocket, page 5 half page pocket. We need to make sure that we don't get those two mixed up. Page 6 plain, and page 7 the flap pocket, which this is. Okay, so let's kind of make a start. Now the envelope here, which it goes on the first page, which is going to go sort of at an angle on the first page here, is also going to be a pocket. This is it's going to hold a lot of things in here. If you have a envelope punch board, then this, you have the size for the envelope, which is 5.5 by 3 3/4. I haven't stuck mine down yet, but if you don't have an envelope punch board and you're making it yourself, making the envelope yourself, when we come to do the papers, I'll tell you how to do that. Okay, so you need 2 of these. As we cut everything, remember that we need 2 of everything, apart from where I've been really clear on the page here. So you will need 1 of the spine covers and you will need 6 of the waterfalls, but apart from that, everything else is 2 of. Okay, so just so there's no doubt. Right, okay, so we're going to make, the first thing we're going to make is the belly band pocket, and you will have your pieces marked out. That's these 2 pieces. As you can see, I've put BB for belly band, and this is the booklet. So you will have, this will be 7 inches across, so all you do simply is score it down the middle and fold it in half. That's your booklet done. We don't need that at the moment, so we're going to put that out of the way. Right, okay, so the belly band here is 6 by 2 3/8, and what you need to do is to score 1/4 inch on each short end, and then put your score tape on and fold the ends under and along the score lines. Okay, so the tape ends up underneath like that. Right, okay, now I quite like everything lined up, and it's quite essential with the measurements that I've done for this album. If you're making your own album, you can do it by eye if you want to. I just like to make sure that everything's lined up for myself. So what I do is I measure, and this page here, when we come to put the papers in, there isn't one whole page of paper. We make it up with pieces either side, because we need to conserve as much paper as possible, so that we only use the 1 pad, if they ever arrive, that is. I'm pretty annoyed about that at the moment. Right, okay, so the centre for me is 2.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2.5, 2 3/4, 2 7/8. So it's 2 7/8. Okay, that's about there, and I'm going to measure the same on the top. I hope you can see this. I hope it's in frame for you. It's kind of a bit of arm's length for me. Okay, that gives me something to line this up with. Now, usually before you take the papers off, what I would say is that you line this up where you think it needs to go, and I believe it is, let me just measure, as I've stuck this one down, it needs to go in 1 5/8 from each side of the page. Right, okay, so let's get this open. 1 5/8, that's 4/8, 1 5/8 there, and 1 5/8 there. Great. Now I'm going to erase this here because you can actually see it. I noticed. If I don't, but I'll replace it afterwards. Right, okay, so first things first, I'm going to try to line up at the top of the page. You'll see that on every page I've allowed for a little border of about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and that's just to keep it looking really consistent and nice and neat. So I'm going to line that up with about 1/8 of an inch at the top. Just going to lay that on there. Oh, it needs to come over a little bit because I haven't lined it up with that. Okay, so I need to line it up, bring it down about 1/8 of an inch. You'll see why when we come to put the papers on, why this is quite essential that we do this. Right there, and there. Brilliant. Okay, so that's that down. Don't press it down until you're really certain that that's where you want it to go. And not. Hold on. Right, there we go, that's better. And then give it a really good burnish with your tool. And that's where your booklet is going to go. So that can go in there. Right, okay, so the next page is the waterfalls, but we're not going to stick the waterfalls down because on this page only, we're actually going to put the paper in first and then put the waterfalls on top. So you're going to have 6 waterfalls, 6 pieces for your waterfalls. That's 3 on this side and 3 on the other side. And what I want you to do is you'll have the measurements. You need to have the longest side going this way, up and down, like this. And at the top, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, fold that over and burnish and put your tape on this side. Okay, so this is along the longest edge, which is your 4 5/8 edge, and then they are 4 1/8 wide. Okay, so you need 6 of those. Get those prepared and put them aside because we don't need them at the moment. Right, now that brings us to our page 4, the half pocket. Let's close this up a bit. So page 4, the half pocket. Let me move some of this stuff. That's this. And it is 3 5/8 by 3 1/2, and you will need to, there's no scoring to do on this one. You just need 1/4 of an inch tape on 3 sides, so the 2 longest sides and the shorter side. And if I were you, I would mark them because there's only 1/8 of an inch difference between the short side and the long side, but it won't fit the other way round. It goes over the score lines. Okay, so put everything up against where it's going to go first until you get a good idea of where it's going to be. before you take your score tape backing off. So it's going to look like this. There's not much of a border either side, maybe 1/16 of an inch either side, but let's try and keep that small 1/8 of an inch border going along there. That way it's a theme all throughout the album. Okay, so I'm just going to remove my backing tape, and I'm going to remove it, I think, in the same way that I do my cards, and that is just remove a corner. Lift a corner up, line it up, and then hold it down while I peel the rest off. That's kind of the safest way, really, I think. So we get this lined up here. We leave a little border at the bottom of about 1/8 of an inch. Make sure that's lined up. It is pretty much the full page, but there is just a tiny, tiny gap so that you don't go over the score lines. And then we will remove the tape. Press that down. Remove the tape on this side. Sorry for any background noise at the moment. Like that. Now, you need to burnish this down very firmly. And then my suggestion is that you put a bone folder inside here and carefully work it through right up to the side edges. Hold them down because they're not fully adhered yet. Right down to the bottom as far as you can go. And what this does is it stretches the paper a bit so that you can, you know, get your tags and everything in here. Right, okay. So that's that page done. Now, as I say, don't confuse it with this page, which is the other side of that pocket, and that is this piece here. So when you come to do this, you need to score along 1/4 of an inch down both short sides and one long side, and you need to clip the corners diagonally across. On the side that you have scored, put your 1/4 inch score tape down on those three, and then we're going to line this pocket up. But first of all, put it up against the page so that you can have a rough idea of where it's going to be when you come to stick it down. And on this page, we're going to leave a 1/4 inch, an 1/8 of an inch gap all the way round so it keeps the consistency. And there should be a small gap here, probably about just over 1/4 of an inch. Okay, right. So let's get that done. Going to remove the score tape backing. So having lined it up while you still have the score tape backing on, will give you probably a much better idea of how it's going to sit when you come to, you know, take the score tape backing off. Right, okay, so I'm going to line this up, leaving about an 1/8 of an inch gap all the way round. Sorry about my dogs barking there. I think somebody just sort of walked up the street or something. Make sure that you get this lined up perfectly. I have my little dogs in the craft room with me because they just really enjoy sitting with me. And thing is, they get a bit enthusiastic about the postman and that. Right, let's make sure that that's sitting flush there. Push that down and across there. Okay, so that's that down, and then you can give it a good burnish. I don't think I will at the moment because I think I'm off camera. I'm going to move this up a tiny bit because the gap there is bigger than the gap there. Right, okay, so that's that page. Okay, that's page 4. Let's just replace that so we remember. Page 4. This is page 5. Right, now page 6 is simple. It's a plain page, so there's nothing to do there. And page 7 is going to look like this, and that's a double pocket with a flap. So this is what we're going to make now. Right, let me just make sure that I'm still in shot in view for you. Yeah, okay, that's good. Right, so the pieces you need, on this one here, as you can see, I've done a die cut edge. Now you can choose to do that, or you can choose to just cut it plain and maybe just round the edges. It's up to you. But I just think it looks really pretty with a die cut edge, and all the kits will have what I'm showing on the albums as I make them. Now the problem with my die cut edge is that it's wider than the page, and that leaves a very thin amount here and here. In fact, it leaves it open. So if your die cut or your punch board does that, you can use punches of course to go across if you want to. If that does that, the simplest way to remedy this is to turn it over and apply 2 little thin strips 1/8 of an inch wide, and that just makes it more rigid and fills in the gaps, if you can see where it's come off the edge, and it looks perfectly fine from this side, and actually you won't notice it as you lift the flap up. So that would be my remedy. The other thing you can do is of course to cut another piece of the card but without the score lines at the top, and just stick it on here to reinforce it, but it doesn't do anything about the gaps if you have gaps at either side like I do. So that's why I've put those 2 pieces of card in. Right, okay, so you have your piece of card here for the flap, and you have the measurements, and they are let's have a look. Flap pockets is 4.5 by 5.5. Now along this edge, so you're going to put this in your scoreboard, long side down the side here, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch and then at 5/8 of an inch, and you're going to very carefully kind of fold along those lines. Personally I wouldn't use my bone folder. I mean I might use the bone folder on this outer one here, but not really on the inner one. It's not necessary. And then you apply your 1/2 inch score tape or use your glue as you wish. Right, let's put that up there out of the way for the moment while we concentrate on this pocket. So you have the larger piece, the top flap pocket, which is 4.25 by 6, and you need to score on 2 shorter sides, 1 longer side as we did before. Clip the corners off diagonally and apply your score tape. Okay, now before we take the score tape off, we're going to do the other flap pocket. So this is the lower flap pocket, and this one doesn't fold under inside. So you just put 1/4 inch score tape down the 2 short edges and 1 long edge, like that. And this is going to sit on top of this one. Okay, leaving the small border all the way around to keep the consistency. So let me just move this out of the way. I'm going to rub this off because you can see it. And it's not needed, not necessary now. Once we get these on, it's pretty, pretty obvious what they are. Right, okay, so we're just going to basically stick this to this. It's pretty simple. And I'm going to remove a part and another part, line it up. You'll see that you have, the border all the way round when you come to line it up. Like I say, it just keeps the consistency. Peel off your tape. Peel off your tape and use the bone folder to burnish it nice and firmly. Now again, put the bone folder inside like that and work it gently to all sides, all corners, as much as you can. Hold the tape part down so it doesn't come up, and as you do so you'll see that it actually stretches the paper, so that gives you a better pocket there. Okay, so now we're going to stick that to the page. I would suggest you do this before you do this. So I'm going to fold those under where you've scored it. Line it up on your page. Now the way I've done it, the way I've managed it, is to fold the page under along that outside edge, but there is the actual crease line. So if you want to, maybe it would be a good idea to just open this up so that you can see your score line here that you're going to stick this close to, so that you don't kind of go, you know, you don't stick it too far over. Right, there's not much of a gap either side here, but we will still leave our little 1/4 inch gap at the bottom, our little 1/8 of an inch gap at the bottom, and get everything else stuck down. So it's pretty much the width of the page. It's not, you know, it's not far short of the width of the page, but we will leave our little gap at the bottom. This is a very simple little album. It's the paper and the embellishments that make this more of what I would call a luxury item, and the fact that it has a matching gift box, which we'll get onto. Right, okay, so we're going to hold these together as best we can and stick down the bottom edge. You know where it wants to go because you've already lined it up before. So you have about an 1/8 of an inch gap. It's as far over as it's going to go. If it's, you know, if you need to kind of centre it up, then have less of a gap. But basically, when you stick it down, you want to have plenty of room between the edge of this pocket that doesn't want to stick under, thank you, and this score line. When I say plenty of room, I'm talking about 1/16 of an inch. So, but you know, place it closer to the folded edge, which is already on your album, than to the score line here. Right, okay, and then all you need to do is to burnish this whole thing. And like I say, I have already completed the other half of the album, just to save time for you. Once you've seen it once, you don't need to see it all again, I'm sure. Now the way I'm going to stick it is to turn this round. And this is just a straightforward, so I'm going to push this fold up so that I can see both score lines here. I have my score tape on the back, and I'm just going to line it up first to see where it needs to go, because it's going to cover the pockets. Make sure it does, make sure it covers on that side as well, and that you leave a little gap at the top. It's just so also that you can't see it from the outside when the album is closed. Right, okay, so carefully holding that down, I'm going to just line this up with the sides, leave that little gap at the top, and pop this down. Just needs to go over this way a tiny bit. You know, take your time with these things. It's the finishing that makes it look so beautiful, especially if you're going to give it a gift. Give it as a gift. Right, there we go. And that, then you can open this up, burnish this piece here, fold that down. On mine, I'm lucky that it will sort of hold shut by popping inside the bottom pocket. But we are going to make tags anyway that will hopefully hold it all closed. Right, okay, let's pop this one in as well, inside the bottom pocket. There we go. So this now is the construction completed, and you will have the page ready, the inside cover ready for your envelope. Then on this page will be plain. The page facing that you can see will be plain. As you open it up, you have your booklet, you're going to have your waterfall, you're going to have your half pocket, and on this flap your half page pocket. I'm going to move this one a little bit so it's a bit more even. And then when we turn it over this way, you have your two facing pages that have the flaps. And then when you go back this way, there's your plain page, there's your envelope, there's your half pocket page, there's your small pocket, there's your, for your waterfall, and this is for your belly band and your other booklet. Okay. Right, so I will be back pretty soon with the measurements for the DSP, for the design series paper. Okay, so don't forget, don't stick the waterfall pages down. That's the only thing that we don't stick down at the moment. But apart from that, your album should begin to look like this. And as we get this filled out more and more, this is going to sort of come together more. Okay, and you've got lots and lots of room inside here. The other thing, just to finish, which I'm going to do with the design kits, is that when we stick the spine cover down, which I think is, no, that's the inside spine cover. But anyway, when we stick the spine cover on here and we come to put these pages on here, I'm actually going to put a brad or make a hole in here because I want this to have charms hanging from it. And you can choose to do that or not. But if you're going to do it, then my suggestion would be that you make a tiny hole here now by measuring and dividing, you know, here. You decide where you want it to go and you make a small hole with a, you know, a sharp tool or something, and just to mark where it's going to be. You don't need to make the whole size of the hole at the moment, but that it's easier because once we get the design series papers on, it's not so easy when you've got to go through several layers. So if you make your little hole ready for your charms to be hung from. If you're not going to do charms, or you're going to do a bookmark or something like that, then that's fine, just leave it as is. Right, okay, much shorter video. Hope you are managing this okay, and I will be back next time with the design series papers. Okay, take care. Bye now.